Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Inshallah, I will wait for around 2-3 minutes for everyone to join in, and then we shall begin, inshallah. There are, I'll just introduce first. We are doing Tajweed rules of the Quran. This is the name of the book. This is part 1. The book, it is in 3 parts, part 1, part 2 and part 3. It's written by Karima Carol Serapinski. She was a student of Sheikh Dr. Ayman Rushdi Suwaid. وَلَقَدْ يَسَّرْنَا الْقُرْآنَ لِلذِّكْرِ فَهَلْ مِن مُدَّكِّرٍ. In this part 1, there are a total of 9 chapters, and we are going to finish the book inshallah in about 10 sessions. This is session number 6. So we have 6, 7, 8, 9 and 10. We have around 5 more sessions, and inshallah I think before that only we will cover the book. We have covered chapter 1, which was introduction to Tajweed, all about Tajweed, why we are studying, what are the manners of when you recite the Quran, internal manners and external, the way of saying isti'aza, the way to say basmala and to say basmala between 2 surahs, the level of recitation, there are 3 speeds, what is the principles of Tajweed and the errors or mistakes in pronunciation known as lahn. And then we studied about makharij al-huruf, the various makharij. There are about 5 main areas, and a total of 28 letters is what you will get. We have 29 alphabets, but alif does not have a sound. So in the 5 main areas, you will have different makharij in each of them. So total you will have 17. So 5 main areas, 17 makharij, and from there 28 alphabets. In that we saw halq 1, which had 3 makhraj points as alphabets, al-jawf 1 makhraj point and the sound for al-madiyya, then al-lisan tongue, which had the maximum 10 makharaj and 18 alphabets, ashtan 2 makhraj points, 4 alphabets, and shum, which is cavity, which is used for a gunna. And when posted this as yet, because I was posting further images for the place of makhraj. Also, in summary, this will be the end picture. So I will post this just after this session, the table for remembering these makhraj points. Then we started with chapter 3, Noon Sakina and Tanween rules, Ahkam and Noon Sakina to what Tanween. There are 4 rules in this: Izhar, Idgham, Iqlab and Ikhfa. We saw that Idgham is broken down into Idgham bi gunna and Idgham bi ghayri gunna, with and without gunna. Also in this there is complete gunna, where there will be a shadda, which is ra and lam, and then mim and noon. Ya and wa will not have a shadda because it's incomplete gunna. Incomplete idgham. Then with gunna were waw, ya, mim and noon. Without gunna are ra and lam. Ra and lam do not have a gunna. They just mix completely. Iqlab was the alphabet ba, Izhar was after Noon as-Sakinatu, or after Tanween you have the throat letters, and then Ikhfa was the hiding. In that again we saw if the makhraj of the next letter, that means if the next letter is a heavy letter, your Ikhfa will also be heavy. Then we had chapter number 4, Ahkam al-Mim as-Sakina, the Mim Sakina rules. There were 3 Ikhfa Shafawi, which is if Mim is followed by ba. Then Idgham Shafawi, it is known as Idgham Mithlain. Why is it known as Mithlain? We will see in the various kinds of Idgham. It's not in this volume, it's in another volume, which is part 2 or part 3 maybe. So that is Idgham when Mim alphabet is followed by Mim alphabet. It's the same alphabet, Mim Sukun plus Mim. Then you have Izhar Shafawi, Mim Sukun plus any other alphabet. Then we did Al-Ghunna, chapter 5 and chapter 6, Lam Sakina rules. What we will do starting from this session is the chapter 7, Al-Mudud, which we won't be able to complete. I will try to complete it in this session, but I'm not very sure because it's quite a long chapter, so it depends on how many queries you have. So that is one. And then chapter 8 is how the letters are formed. Chapter 9 is the mechanism of qalqala. This volume has only these many chapters, so 7, 8 and 9 is what is left. We will first go over 5 and 6, which we did in the last class, and then start with Al-Mudud. 5 and 6. 5 is Gunna and 6 is Lam Sakina rules. So we saw that in Gunna there are 4 levels of Gunna that we did. One is complete, and that's the more strong. Just let me tell you what page number this chapter begins. It will be on page number 56, 55 is where it starts. You can go to page number 56. It's just two pages. It's a small chapter because it's just mentioning the different kinds of gunna. Gunna, as we saw, gunna is a characteristic which is always there in two letters, which is noon and meme. It is the most evident when it has a shadda, when noon and meme have a shadda, and that is the most complete gunna, known as akmal. Okay, those the four levels are akmal, kamila, naqisa, and anqus. Just for you to know what I did until now in this session, since nobody was there, I was just going over all the chapters in the book, an introduction to which book we are doing, all the chapter headings, and just in brief what was there in that chapter. And I just now started with chapter 5 and 6 revision. We covered this in the last class. Chapter 5 is al-gunna, chapter 6 is lam sakina rules. So we will revise these two chapters which are of the last class, and then we will continue with chapter 7, which is al-mudud. So chapter 7 we will try to cover the maximum, and then after that we just have two more chapters left. How letters are formed, that's 8, and the 9th one is al-qalqala. So inshallah maximum maybe we have 6, 7, 8, 9 and 10. Including this we have 5 more sessions, but inshallah we will complete before that only the book, is volume 1. So gunna, it is a characteristic of the alphabet noon and meme. It's always there with it. You cannot say the noon and meme without the gunna. The 4 levels of gunna are akmal, kamila, naqisa and anqus. Akmal is most complete. Akmal, most complete, and it's the longest. That will be when noon or meme has a shadda. Okay, now this also comes in idgham with gunna. In idgham with gunna, if you see, when noon or meme come, they have a shadda on top of them. So that is why that also comes under this idgham with gunna, and it's the most complete gunna. Then the next set is complete gunna. It's not most complete, it's complete. This will be the second longest gunna. When does this come? When you have the ikhfa rule of noon as-sakina, when you have the ikhfa rule. So when you do gunna in ikhfa, it's complete, but it's not as long as the most complete gunna. It's not that long, it's a little shorter than that. So that's the second longest gunna. It's the gunna of ikhfa. Then is the third one, gunna naqisa, is incomplete. It is even more smaller than the complete gunna. So because it's the third, so it goes in the decreasing order. And when is the gunna incomplete? When you say the noon with izhar, with a sukoon, like noon is said an, meme is said am. So you still have a gunna, but it's incomplete. And the most shortest is when you recite them with vowels, with a fatha, na, nu, ni, ma, mo, mi. They do have a gunna, but you cannot hear the gunna that much. It is only because it's just sifat of them. Because you cannot, when you close your mouth and try to say na, it won't come out. So that way gunna is there, but you cannot hear it that much. So it's the most shortest gunna, it's most incomplete. And khus gunna. And the difference between all these 4 is very minute. Only an experienced reader or listener can tell you the difference. Now when you're saying the gunna, you should be careful that when an ikhfa is there in noon sakina, when the next letter is a heavy letter, you have to do a heavy gunna. What are the heavy letters? We will do these heavy letters when we come to the sifat, which is the characteristics of letters. That's in volume 2. But here there are a couple mentioned, which is sad, dad, ta, qaf, dha. When noon sakin is followed by these, the gunna will be heavy. So it depends on what is the next alphabet. So it's mentioned here that this will be covered in level 2 of Tajweed, which is part 2, the volume 2. The next we did was lam sakina rules. Lam sakina rules just means like how you have noon, if it has a sukoon, it's known as noon sakina. Meme, if it has a sukoon, it's known as meme sakina. Same way, if lam has a sukoon, it's known as lam sakina. Now lam can appear in any word. You have a total, if you see the whole language, a word can be divided into 3 categories: ism, fi'l and harf. And in fi'l, which is in actions, you have command forms also, like you have hukum, like do this or write, come, sit. So those are known as amr. So they are orders, you're ordering someone something. So lam can appear in any of the words. It can appear in a verb, it can appear in an order, it can appear in the noun, or in the harf, which are those connecting words. Also, it is mentioned the lam combination of alif lam, when you say al kitab, al madrasa. So that al which is there, that also has a lam sukoon. So there are different rulings based on where the lam comes. So based on that, you can have two rules for lam sukoon. Either you will pronounce the lam, so you will say al, that is known as izhar of lam, or the other is idgham. You will join the lam to the next alphabet. You will not recite the lam. So how do you do that is what is mentioned in the chapter Ahkam al-Lam as-Sakina. Now first we will look at the first one, which is the alif lam, which is also known as lam at-ta'rif. Ta'rif means the definite article. Al actually means the, generally it means the. So that actually it is just the lam sakina which is added to the basic word. Like if the word is kitab, I will just add lam sakina and precede that to the word kitab, because lam sakina kitab. But how do I recite it? Because I cannot recite a word with a sukoon. It needs something before it. So that is why hamzatul wasl is added, and then that you will read with a fatha. So lam at-ta'rif, it will be read with a fatha, and you will say al. It will be izhar. In this, you may have the next letter after al. It can be a shamsiya letter or a qamariya letter. So you should know these alphabets. So when you have a letter which is a qamariya letter, you will have a sukoon written on top of lam. So that sukoon, you can remember that the sukoon is like the moon, so it's qamariya. So you will recite the lam. When lam has the sukoon, you will recite it like al-haqqu, that's page number 61, al-ardi, al-kitaba, al-qiyamati. So you see, you could hear the lam, al, everywhere I recited the al. So this is known as the rule for izhar. Now the concept for the next one, which is al-idgham, is if the next letter is a shamsiya letter. Like for example, if it is sad, I will not say al-salati, it's as-salati, not al-salati, as-salati. The thing is, all the shamsiya letters, if you note, why are they coming under shamsiya? That means why is the lam not recited? I directly go to the next letter. I don't say al-salah, I join it and I say as-salah. Why is it? Because shamsiya letters, if you note, all of them are the ones whose makhraj is on the tongue, and the makhraj of lam is also on the tongue. So when al, which is lam, is followed by another letter whose makhraj is on the same thing, which is the tongue, lam's makhraj is on tongue, next letter makhraj is on the tongue, so it's difficult to pronounce both of them together. That is why what happens is the lam is idgham, it's merged into the next alphabet. Do not recite the al. So this idgham shamsiyya, and the lam is called lam shamsiyya. And lafzul jalala, it also has lam at-ta'rif, al-ilah. The word is al-ilah, but what happens is when it joins, the hamza was dropped and it becomes Allah. So the lam in this case becomes shamsiyya. It is shamsiyya in lafzul jalala. Then we did the other one, which is all the other four: lam al-fi'l, wal lam al-amr, wal lam al-ism, wal lam al-harf. The lam can appear in any of them. It can appear in af'al, which is verbs, in asma, in nouns, in harf. General rule is what? General rule is har. You will say the al. But if you have a lam sakina, if you have al and it is at the end of a verb which is an action or a harf, why only these two? Because an ismun will not end in a lam sukoon. You will never have a lam sukoon at the end of an ism. So if it is a lam sukoon ending and the next word is beginning with a lam or ra, then you do idgham. Why? Because you know lam and ra are close to each other in makhraj. It becomes difficult to recite them together. So you will merge them and you will become you will say it with the rule of idgham. Like, and harf, it is mentioned that there are only two words that end in lam sukoon in harf, which is hal and bel. Hal and bel. Now there are some examples for izhar and idgham shown here. Like for example, yatawakkal, it's ending in lam sukoon. If it is followed by ala, I will do izhar. Like وَمَن يَتَوَكَّلْ عَلَى اللَّهِ فَهُوَ حَسْبُهُ. يَلْتَقِطْهُ, yal, I recited it. قُلْ هَلُمَّ, qul, recited it. But now in the next example, it is of idgham. If you see in idgham, the examples which are shown, the lam sukoon is followed by which one? You will have idgham in, just a second, let me show it here. You have a lam sukoon and it will be followed by a lam or lam sukoon followed by a ra. And since idgham, what will you see? In idgham, what do you see? You see a shadda on this next letter. So for example, you have qul and you have rabbi. So after qul, which is lam sukoon, you have ra. So you won't say qul rabbi, you will say qur rabbi. You will join it. Same way, ashhadu alla. Sorry, that was noon sakina rule. That's idgham. Okay, you have hal. Okay, hal is ending in lam sukoon, and then you have lakum. So it's the same letter lam. So I won't say hal and then again, because there's another lam sukoon there. It will be joined to the second lam, and I will say hal lakum. It will go from here directly here. From here, sorry. From this fatha, I will go direct to the next lam. Hal lakum. Now, there is no place in the Quran where hal is followed by ra. There are places where hal is followed by lam, like hal lakum, it's followed by lam. But followed by ra, there is no place in the Quran. So there's just an additional note. It doesn't matter if you don't remember, it's not worth remembering. What is main is you should know how to recite, where you're supposed to recite how. That is what you should know. In idgham, there is an exception, which is Surah Mutaffifin and ayah number 14. What is idgham? Which is this one, the merging. This is the idgham rule. So there is an exception where bel, I have bel, and it is followed by ra. Bel, ra, na. But if you see in the mushaf, this is having a sakta. Sakta means you stop there. So after bel, you have to stop. You cannot join and say bel, ra, na. I have to say bel, ra, na, ala qulubihim. You will say bel, you will stop without stopping your breath and just continue with ra, na. So when you don't stop your breath, you know it's continued. But you do not join it, because this will not join, because Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam did not recite. And since what are we studying is Hafs and Asim min tariq ash-Shatibiyya, so he had not recited it this way. So there was a sakta over here. So that was for lam sakina rule. And now we begin ihkam al-mudud, which is chapter number 7. First, let us know what is al-mad. The literal meaning of mad is to lengthen. Lengthening is called as mad. Mad means to lengthen, to make long. Means something that is extra. And the definition that we need to know here is, you are lengthening with sound, a fatha or a kasra or a dhamma. You are lengthening. So when is the mad coming? Alif as-sakinatu maftuhu ma qablaha. That is what is, which is alif as-sakina, the alif shuri sakina. Al-maftuh ma qablaha. Maftuh means fatha, which is a letter before it is maftuh, means it will have a fatha. Ma qablaha. Ma means what is before it. Before it. So before alif, if you have a letter with a fatha, this whole thing will become mad alif. That's one of the mad. So you have 3 mad. Second is al ya as-sakinatu makturu ma qablaha. So ya sakina, and before it is maksur, it's a kasra. Then al-waw sakinatu admu ma qablaha. So there is a waw, and before it there is a dhamma. So fatha plus alif sukoon, fatha plus alif sukoon, or kasra plus ya sukoon, or dhamma plus waw sukoon. These are so fatha is lengthened. Finally, you say a 1 count. But when you have a fatha plus alif sukoon, you will say a 2 counts. Kasra plus ya. Kasra generally is e, but kasra plus ya sukoon, e 2 counts. Dhamma is generally u 1 count, but dhamma plus waw sukoon, u. So I lengthened it. So these are your basic mad. Now there are examples where all of these 3 mad letters appear in one word, like udhina, nuhiha, أوتينا. So you have mad dhamma, mad kasra, and mad fatha. So those are your three maddi. These are your basic mad. There are more mad we'll see as we progress, but this you should know that this is your basic mad. Another thing that you should know here before we go to more mad rules is full lean. The lean letters. What are lean letters? There are two. How will you know? Al-waw as-sakinatu. So the waw is sakin. Al-maftuh ma qablaha, before it maftuh. Al-waw as-sakinatu maftuhu ma qablaha. So you have maftuh and after you have a waw, it is pronounced aw. Okay. The second one, this is the first one. Second one is ya as-sakinatu. So ya is a sukun. Al-maftuh ma qablaha, before it is fatha. So you have fatha plus ya sukun. Fatha plus waw sukun or fatha plus ya sukun. These are known as harful lean, the lean letters. So this is recited as I. So it's aw, I. So these are the two harf lean. Now when you know what is a mad and now what is you know what is a harful lean, then we can inshallah begin the mad. Mad is divided basically into two groups. So when you study mad, you will have two groups of mad. One is known as mad asli, the original mad, and one is known as mad far'i. That's when ayn fa'i. So you have two categories of mad, mad asli and mad far'i. First, let us begin with this one, mad asli, which is also known as at-tabi'i. The definition is that this mad is that without which the letter cannot exist, meaning the timing, it will not exist. And you do not stop the mad just because of a hamza or sukun. This hamza or sukun part you will understand when you come to far'i, but this is your basic natural mad which we just did, fatha and alif, a, kasra and ya, e, and dhamma and waw, u. So the mad, you cannot reduce the timing. It will say that much. It will stay two counts. The timing does not change. Whether a hamza comes before it, after it, whether a sukun comes before it, after it, the timing stays the same. You do not change the timing. So there are what indications mentioned here is that when will the mad be asli? This one there are some conditions which is before this you should not have a hamza. The hamza should not, because if there is hamza it will no longer be a mad asli, it will be another mad. It will come so you should not have hamza for the mad. So it should not be hamza, fatha and alif, a. It should not be that. Okay. And also what is the other condition? That after this mad, the simple mad, you should not have a sukun after it. So you should not have hamza before it, you should have a sukun after it. Why? Because these are what come under far'i. So it is also called natural mad because your natural measure will not increase or decrease. You will say it two counts, a, u, e, nu, hi, ha. So what are the timing? Two vowel counts. Now how do you know what is your timing? It depends on how much or what speed you're reciting at. So if your haraka is a, one count, so your mad should be two counts, a, u, e, like that. And whenever you're saying the vowels, they should be equal in count. So if your a is two counts, your e also should be two counts. In mad, that's one very important thing, where whenever you're reciting, whichever mad you're taking to what count, it should be consistent. It should be that much only. And when you say two, it should be, if it's a, two is double of that. And if you say four counts is double of that. So a is two counts, then four counts will be a, that is your four counts. Then five counts will be a, little more longer, and then six counts will be a, that's six counts. So it's each depends on how much is your first count, and equally that much will increase. 2, 4, 5 and 6, usually you have these counts. They will come when we come to far'i. How do you do generally initially when you're learning is count on your fingers. Whenever you're saying count your fingers, 2 fingers, remove 2 fingers, 1 2. When you want four sounds, 1 2 3 4, remove 4 fingers and keep lengthening till those 4 fingers are out. That's how you will do. Now one more thing is mentioned, is included in at-tabi'i. Al-mad at-tabi'i is a group of letters, hayya tuhur, which are the letters that start some of the surahs of the Quran. If any of these letters is at the beginning of a surah, the letter is read with a mad tabi'i. For example, now what is mentioned here is, if you see some surahs like for example Yasin or Surah Taha, they do not have haraka on them. If there would have been a haraka, you will recite it. Like for example Taha, if you see there is no haraka, I cannot say Taha or Tihi or Tahu. You cannot recite it. You have to just say alphabet, because there is nothing mentioned on haraka to recite. So it's just an alphabet, so you just recite the alphabet. How do you recite the alphabet? When you say Ta, you will say Ta. When you say Ha, you will say Ha. But what you need to know here is, when you're reciting these alphabets, you should know how to spell them out. Like for example, Ta. How do you spell out Ta? Ta is like this. Ta. The way how I pronounce it, that will be my spelling. Now the small Ha, okay, it actually written like this in the stuff. But what is the spelling? This is spelling for Ta. What is the spelling for Ha? Is the spelling for Ha. So whenever you recite these letters, you're going to recite it with a mad. You're going to recite it with 2 counts. Ta, Ha, 2 counts. Okay. Another examples is Ha, Ya. And then this is there in Surah Maryam, the first ayah. What is it? Kaf, Ha, Ya, Ain and Sad is written. Kaf is a 3-letter word. Like this will be this. I'll just clean the board. I'll put Farai again in the new shot, just to explain this. Okay. The spelling for Kaf. This is the alphabet Kaf. If I want to spell it out, this is how you spell, right? Kaf. How do you spell Ha? The alphabet Ha will be Ha. The alphabet Ya will be, how do I recite Ya? Like this, Ya. This is Ain. How do I spell out Ain? Ain, right? So this is, what am I doing? I'm actually spelling it up. So you should know the spelling. So the one which is like this is where I will say 2 counts. So Kaf, Ha, Ya, Ain, Sad. So when I said Ha and Ya, I took it to 2 counts. Ha, Ya, I have to say 2 counts. Just a minute. Wash कर दिया. चलो हैंड वॉश करके जल्दी, तो वो खा लो पहले. I'm sorry. Okay. Ha, yeah, 2 counts you will take. Okay, so that is, again, that also comes under mad asli. Now in mad tabi'i, what follows the natural lengthening rules? There are a couple of mad which follow this natural mad. And what are those? Let us look at this. I'll clear this again. You have a rule known as mad sila sughra and mad aywad. These also you will follow the same rule as mad tabi'i. Mad tabi'i, what? It's a, it's o, or it's e, and it's 2 counts. So there are a couple of more things which will follow the same rule of natural mad, which is what? Mad sila. But which one? In mad sila actually you have two kinds. One is kubra and one is sughra. So sughra is small, so it's 2 counts. So sughra only comes under this rule. Mad sila sughra and mad aywad. So let us look at these two. Mad sila sughra, what is it? Okay, let me clear the chart. We are now doing mad sila sughra. It is also known as lesser connecting mad. Sila means connect, wasal, join, and sughra means small. So a lesser connecting mad. So it's a sila mad, joining mad, and connecting mad, and sughra, small. How does it come? When do you get this mad? Is you should know something called dhamir. Dhamir means pronounce. Dhamir means pronounce. there is something called as ha damir, which is the pronoun ha. For this, you should know the chart of how to say he, she, they, and then when you add it at the end of the word, like if I want to say his book, book means kitab, okay? But when I want to say his book, I will say kitab bahu. I will add a hu at the end. I'm sorry. Kitabahu. So this who, this means his pronoun, right? I'm saying it in place in the name of someone. Instead of saying book of so and so, instead of saying the name, I'm just saying his. It's a replacement of the noun, so it's called a pronoun. So this pronoun, the who or ha, this is known as dhamir. Dhamir is a pronoun. So this ha dhamir, because of this, the mad will come. So this ha is not part of the original word. The original word is just kitab. Who is an additional word, and who is for representing masculine, he. So it's not the she part, because in she also you have a ha, but that's with an alif. It's ha fathan alif for his book. So it's just a who. Sometimes it can come like this kitabahu, right? Sometimes it may come in form of kita bihi, because for some reason when you have to give a kasra here, the he also takes a kasra. Generally it is supposed to say who, kitabahu, who is the one that you attach at the end of the word, but for some reasons the who becomes he, which you will see in grammar. So kitabahu or kitabihi. So that who or he, the who can end in a dhamma or the who can end in a kasra. When this is in between two vowel signs, like for example in this case, if you see, it is preceded by ba fatha ba, ba kasra bi. So the previous alphabet is having a vowel, right? Same way, if the next letter kitabahu bi yamini, and it continues. If you see the first example, kitabahu bi yamini, so the who is preceded by an alphabet with haraka, and the next letter is also an alphabet with a haraka. Both are vowel letters, and it is sandwiched between these two vowel letters. So when you are not going to stop, you're just going to continue reciting. So the who will get sandwiched between two vowels letters, and the condition is that this next letter is the next vowel letter. This should not be a hamza. This should not be a hamza. So when all this is met, then what you get is this dhamma, you will lengthen it into 2 counts. And in the musaf, when you see, you will always see one small waw written here. So that waw is this mad. Kitabahu biyamini. You have to say it 2 counts. Same thing, kitabihi. You will take it 2 counts if it is sandwiched, that he is sandwiched between 2 vowel sounds, and the next alphabet should not be a hamza. Suppose you're going to stop. This is only when you're continuing, so it gets sandwiched. Suppose you're going to stop. Kitabah. I will say it with a sukoon, so the mad goes away. So this mad will not come if you're going to just stop on it. The mad comes only when you're continuing your recitation. You're going to join it only then. Wasl. So mad sila sughra is what is this. There is an example mentioned here. Innahu is ha dhamma, right? And it's a dhamir, it's a pronoun. It's preceded by noon fatha na. And in the example it is followed by kaf fatha ka, because it's kana. Innahu kana. So the who is getting sandwiched. So how do you recite it? Innahu kana. Innahu kana. So the who will be 2 counts. إنه كان بعباده خبيرا بصيرا. بعباده is also he 2 counts. بعباده خبيرا بصيرا. So the ha will have a sukoon when you stop on it, right? So then you will not lengthen it over there. And suppose this who the previous alphabet is having a sukoon. We said it should be sandwiched letter, like for example, if it was something which had a sukoon before ha dhamma, then this rule will not apply, because you need vowel before it and vowel after it. There are two exceptions to this rule which is mentioned. There will be no mad of ha, even though all conditions are met here, but there will not be a mad sila over here. The example is mentioned here, Surah Zumar, ayah number 7. وَإِن تَشْكُرُوا يَرْضَهُ لَكُمْ يَرْضَهُ لَكُمْ. So I'm not saying يَرْضَهُ لَكُمْ, it's not two counts. So this is an exception. And here if you see in the Musaf also, you will not see this small waw. The small waw will not be over there. So if you have to extend it, you will have that small ya, and for the kasra it will be written like this. So even if you do not know the rule, when you see in the Musaf this small waw or a small ya, take it to two counts, because that is one of the rule of mad sila sughra. Even though you don't know the rule, by looking at it you will know that you have to take it two counts. Then the other exceptions is Surah Al-Furqan, ayah number 69. وَيَخْلُدْ فِيهِ مُهَانًا. Actually here the fihi is written with two counts, so I need to check this. Here there is a with all conditions. Okay, here the exception is why, because if you see fihi, it is that small ya is written over there, you have to say a mad. But if you see condition wise, the he, which is a pronoun, which is a damir, so that condition is met. The next alphabet is mu, which is a haraka, a word with an alphabet with a haraka, so that is also met. The next word, which is meme, it's not a hamza, so this condition is also met. But if you see the previous alphabet, it's ya and it's sakina, but generally a mad, it's sakina. But in the Musaf, if you see all the mad, the alif, waw and ya will be empty. The sukoon will not be written on top, and that could be the reason why this comes under an exception. So if you see here, this will fall under exception. The condition is not met, but yet you have to do a mad. وَيَخْلُدْ فِيهِ مُهَانًا. Okay, it's mentioned there are no reason for this exception. This is just the way how Hafs read these ayat, so that's how we are supposed to read. Now the pronoun ha of the female noun hadhihi. Hadhihi means this. Okay, so in hadhihi also you have a ha at the end, like for example ha zi he. This hazihi also applies, because this he doesn't represent that damir, it doesn't represent pronoun. Hazihi itself is one word, but still even then the he follows the rule of mad sila. You will have inna hadhihi tazkira. Hadhihi, two counts you will take. So it's not the damir pronoun, it doesn't mean his, it means this, and the whole word is one word, it means this. But still mad sila will be applied in case it is going to be sandwiched between two alphabets. This example is from Surah Muzammil, ayah number 19. So you should remember hazihi also has those rules. Now if you don't remember the rules by heart for now, it's fine. Your main thing is when you see in the Musaf the small ya, small waw, take it two counts. That's what you need to know on recitation part. The other one which we said follows the mad tabi, which is the normal lengthening rule. One we said is mad sila sughra, and the other one is mad aiwad. So what is mad aiwad? Let us look at that now. Mad aiwad means a substitute. It's ain, waw and bad. The aiwad, it means a substitute mad. What do you mean by substitute? That means originally it's not mad, but I'm substituting a mad for it. When do you do that? When you replace a tanween with a fatha when you stop on it. And how much do you take? It is following the rule of mad tabi, so you will take two counts. For example, the word is hudan. Hudan is the word. Do you see where any mad over here? There is no mad over here. But this tanween fatha, two fathas, when I stop on this word, when I pronounce it, I pronounce it as huda, as it's a fatha and alif. So the two fatha, the tanween fatha, two fatha, if you stop on two fatha, you're going to recite it as if it's one fatha and one alif. Huda, or bina'an. That is the word. I will pronounce it as when I stop. Bina'a. 2 counts. Shakuran is the word. Shakuran. But when I stop, Shakura. 2 counts. So this tanween, after that, whether you have an alif or whether you don't have an alif, it doesn't matter. Even if there is no alif after the tanween, you have to recite with 1 fatha. You will replace this tanween. This tanween you will replace with an alif, and you will add an alif and recite. Even if there is no alif, you have to add that alif and recite it as 2 counts. You have to take it as a. If you're going to continue reading like shakuran and then I continue reading, I'm not going to stop on the word, then the mud will not come. Then you will say an, shakuran. This mud will go away. So it's just a substitute mud when you're going to stop on that word. There are exceptions mentioned here. Ha-at-ta'nis. Ha-at-ta'nis will not come in this word. Ha-at-ta'nis means what? Ta'nis means a feminine mud. Like there is closed there. Is generally used for feminine, closed there. So in Arabic, sometimes it can even appear like this, when it's joined to the previous alphabet. So this, if it has 2 fatha on top, you recite this as tan, right? But when I'm going to stop in it, I will not replace the fatha and then put in alif and say, I will not pronounce this as ta. But what I will do is, I will recite this as a ha sukun. So this is one exception. Like, let us look at one example. If the word is rahmatan, rahmatan, so you see there's a close there with 2 fathas. When I'm going to stop on this, generally a close there represents feminine gender. That's when you will see generally the close there at the end. When I'm going to stop, how will I stop? I need to pronounce it as a ha sukun when I stop. What was the general rule? General rule is you're going to pronounce it like this. So I will not say rahmata when I stop on this. That's wrong. Whenever I stop this, I'm going to say rahmah with this ha sukun. Rahmah, rah, and mah with a ha sukun. Rahmah. But when I'm going to continue, I will say rahmatan. That will be proper. So that is the rule for this. Another example is ni'matan or ni'mah. Ni'matan, when I stop, I will say ha sukun. Ni'mah. So that is the rule for substitute mud. So what did we do? Just let me summarize it here. We said we have begun with the chapter of mudud, mud. Basically, mud is this a or u or e. Mad is basically in 2 categories: mad asli, or also known as mad tabi'i, or mad fara'i. Mad fara'i is because of hamza or sukun. This natural mad, which is a, u, e, is the mad asli. A, u, or e. But the condition is before it there should not be hamza, and after it that is not ha. That should be a sukun. Oh. It should be a sukun. So the condition is mad asli is all these 3 mad, but not before that it should not have hamza, and after that you should not have a sukun. If it is because of hamza or sukun, that goes under far'i. So that is in asli. But there are additional 2 things in asli, which is mad aiwad, which is a substitute mad, the 2 fatha, tanween fatha that you read with 1 fatha. You will read it as a mad asli. So it follows the rule of mad asli. Exception to this is closed. We'll read with the ha sukun. The other one which follows mad asli ruling is mad sila sughra, which we saw if it is the ha pronoun. Before it and after it you have a voweled letter, but the after letter should not be a hamza, because again hamza ruling all comes under farai. So it should not be a hamza. So that will be again taken to 2 counts. There are exceptions to this rule also. Now how will you know how to pronounce this and when the exception comes? In the Musaf, when you have this rule of Matsila, you will see a small waw, small ya. So that when you see the small waw or ya, you know it's a sila, so you have to take 2 counts. When you don't see it, it's not a sila, so you do not take 2 counts. So that is on Mad Asli. Mad Fara'i we will begin in the next session. Again you will have 2 parts to it. Mad because of Hamza and Mad because of Sukoon. So Fara'i is having again 2 categories. Mad due to Hamza and Mad due to Sukoon. Then again because of Hamza you have 4 Mad, and because of Sukoon you have 3. So because of Hamza you have 4 Mad here, and because of Sukoon you have 3. So that's total of 7 in general the Mad that you have to do. That would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and 6, 7 and 8, 9 and 10, 11 and 12. So we have 13 more pages for this chapter. We have 13 more pages for the chapter, plus there's one graph at the end summarizes the whole Mad, all the Mad. That's the longest chapter in all the major rules. The other 2 chapters after that is small, so inshallah we will do this in the next session, so that the more we do less in each session, it's easier for you to revise and remember it well. So before we start Mad Fara'i, just be sure that this natural Mad you know it very well. Okay, even if you don't remember by Baharting, you should know that okay, this is like this. If it appears like this in the Musaf, I should know how much to do. And Mad Asli is all, how many counts did we do? Mad Asli is all 2 counts. But in Fara'i you will see that there are different categories. You have options of 2 counts, 4 counts, 5 counts, 6 counts. So it depends on which Mad it is. So that's where I will end inshallah. If you have any queries, just let me know, put it down if you have any queries. If no, later on also you can post it, it's fine, or you can send me a message separately on this account only please, so that I will have it all in one place, or just below the video you can put the session. Just maybe in a couple of minutes I will post the chart for that makhraj, total makhraj, in which makhraj how many makhraj points, which is 5 main areas, each makhraj how many each main area how many makhraj, and in each area how many alphabets. Also slowly we will do various things. So meanwhile you all are thinking about your queries, I will just do one example of one makhraj that I told you. Each class we will do one makhraj. So let's do Qaf for now. In Qaf you have the chapter called Qalqal at the end of this, which is the last chapter. That's called a kind of bouncing sound or an echo sound. So when you have Qaf with a sukoon, you have to say that. When you're saying Qaf, be sure the front part of your tongue is all down. You're not supposed to touch your tongue up, because the English kaf or k touches the middle part of the tongue up, but in Arabic you should not use the middle part. If you use the middle part, your Qaf will not be proper. So you should go very much behind. Keep your tongue down, just focus on the back part. So keep your tongue down, keep your mouth just slightly open and say aq, aq, aq. Use the back part. That's when your Qaf comes. So your tongue front part, when you keep down, then only you can focus behind. If you see that your tongue is going up from front, then just calm down, relax, sit down, open your mouth slightly, push the front part of your tongue down. So you'll have to do a lot of exercise on the tongue, on your jaws. You'll have to put the pressure where you need to put. That's a lot of exercise involved for you to practice properly. So when you intentionally do it, then it will come. If you just normally try to recite, it will come like some other alphabets. So you need to focus on where you need to focus, then only it will be proper. So that's the practice for this today and until tomorrow, so that you can practice this alphabet, which is Qaf, Aq, Iq, Uq, Qa, Qa, Qi, Qu, Qa, Dhamma, Qu, from behind. Qi, 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 Aq, no, Aq, Uq, no, not Uq, Uq, no, from behind. Stand, sit, back straight, sit down, back straight. Uq, Uq, no, not there, your tongue. Uq,
Uka.
ق ق
Uka.
ق ق خلق
Uka.
خلق
Khalaq. Uka.
خلق أق. So if you don't get the bouncing sound, means your makhraj is not because this would by default. Like if you say it from the proper makhraj, the sound of that qalqala will come by default. So that's by default the sound is going to come. So I end the session here. And alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Inshallah, next class is Mad Fara'i.